around, friends new and old, and welcome to the POWWOW podcast. I am your host, Philip.
Welcome. I'm David.
And this is the POWWOW podcast, as we've already told you. But look, guys, it's been a week. We've talked to your mothers. You've talked to ours. I hope you haven't talked to ours. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm
hope
probably
we
going
haven't
to take
talked
that.
to your mothers either. Goodness gracious. Phil, what have you been doing this week?
I've been drinking, obviously.
DMing people's mothers.
Everybody. I just been wishing them a happy Mother's Day, David. That's all I've been doing. Anyways, well, this week we got Strange, if nothing else. Did you watch the newest addition to the MCU?
With absolutely no spoilers, yes, I did. And I guess that means no more talking about it.
Yeah, because really,
I did indeed.
Do you consider saying that you like or liked a film a spoiler in and of itself?
There have been films where so for example, when Star Wars 7 came out, when The Force Awakens came out, my sister I was like flying back from university in the UK to the Netherlands, and my sister, I knew her, like she told me, "Oh, we just saw Star Wars." And I was like, "I'm not speaking to you at all until I've seen it." And like she wanted to tell me, "Oh, I just want to tell you that it was good." And I'm like, "Shut up. Don't tell me. I don't want to know that it's good. I don't know that it's bad. It doesn't matter." Yet even that in itself tells me things that I don't want to know, you know? I avoided the trailers and yeah. So like, to me, there have been cases where I've gone that neurotic, but no, I mean, saying that the film is good or not good, not really. I mean, it's also totally a matter of opinion, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some people we have a guest on later who loved it. I know that one, and
No, I didn't love it.
I didn't love it. I thought it was...
I liked it. I thought it was good.
It was good. Absolutely.
Not
it was
very good, just good.
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 W-D.
It was good. So
good.
this week, Phil,
Yes.
I officially...
Oh.
So now for this is the 9th day. So starting May 1st, I am now pescatarian Sunday through Thursday every week.
Why?
Well, I figure that I can cut down on my meat intake for the sake of, well, for one, my health, and for two, more importantly, and much more importantly than my own health. I don't really care about my health as nearly as much as I care about Mother Earth.
Oh.
Speaking of Mother's Day, the environmental impact of the livestock industry, I was reading all those articles when we did that Earth Day episode, and I decided, you know what? I can cut down drastically and hard and fast limit myself. I will limit myself. Sunday through Thursday, I do not eat meat. And I still enjoy it on a Friday or a Saturday. Not necessarily, but if it comes about, I'll enjoy it on a Friday and Saturday, but in very limited quantities. You know, it's just, I don't need it in my diet. I like to enjoy it, but, you know, I can cut down. So I made that decision, and I'm very happy about it.
Well, what a
It's
lifestyle.
hard, but I'm happy about it.
Well,
Yeah.
What a lifestyle choice. And I must admit, when you first said it, I thought that there might have been a problem with Miss Hoffman, where you had said earlier that you eat a lot of meat now that you're back home, because it just happens to be what they cook a lot. So I thought that there was a correlation there. I'm glad it has nothing to do with that. Still cooking up delicious dinners, just you yourself will abstain for the sake of betterment towards the earth. Good for you. I have not given up meat as of yet. Although if I'm being honest,
not giving. That's the thing. Like, I don't think I could give it up because it's an important part of my culture, and you know, I'm a foodie, diet. And I don't think you can be a foodie if you don't eat pretty much anything. So, but I can really cut down, and I'm doing that, and I'm happy to do it.
I would say that I'm an accidental pescatarian, or probably just whatever it could be.
Vegetarian.
Vegetarian. I don't eat a lot of meat during the week, actually, as a matter of fact. Now I'm thinking about it, I think last week I ate one cheeseburger, as much as everybody finds this riveting. I ate one cheeseburger and no more meat for the rest of the week. Anyways.
No more meat.
No more meat and greet for us. But let us go on to the main topic of this episode, which I think it's a very good one. So let's go on.
I'm not superstitious. but I am a little stitious. I knew it. I knew you were gonna hate that intro, Phil.
I don't hate it. That's the reason why I'm rolling my eyes. Welcome to the main topic of today's episode.
Yeah.
I was prompted and told by my very good friend David Hoffman that he must bring us into this main topic, and he did in his own very special way. And the reason why he is a little stitious is because when this episode releases, it will be Friday the 13th. And now there's a lot of different interpretations and meanings for Friday the 13th for everybody. But we're going to see if we can go through each and every way possible that it is. But in order to do so, we will be bringing a friend of the podcast back to the show, not only for the game, but also for the main topic. So give a big round of applause that we do not have besides our very own to Miss One Shannon Blunt. Welcome back to the show, Shannon.
Thank you for the applause. Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Yes, we didn't bring the full audience, the full POWWOW community, but we'll do that maybe as we grow and get more tech savvy and everything else. But hello, welcome back. Friday the 13th, off the top of your head, what does that mean to you, Shannon? Friday the 13th. Like, what's the first thing you think about?
It's a day I need to be careful, honestly. It's just something about it.
So you might be a little stitious.
Just a little.
Just a little stitious.
I know to a lot of people, Phil, you and I were talking about this earlier today. Well, for you, it was yesterday. Some people, it means cheap tattoos on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes. I know whenever I think of Friday the 13th, it's so one of the same for me, because I had an ex who actually waited every year and would practically every year get a...
Well, it doesn't even happen every year.
No, it doesn't happen every year. So whenever it would happen and occur that a Friday would land on the 13th of any month, tattoos would give a cheaper tattoo from like the size of a business card.
On Hollywood Boulevard, it was like there was a limit to how big it could be, and they were $13 tattoos.
Yes.
And I think normally you'd pay like
$60,
over $50, something like it was a dope discount if you're into tattoos.
Absolutely. So that's what it's always kind of stood for me. But of course, we have other meanings. Of course, the name one being what we already introduced here on how it can be unlucky or superstitious. Now, we're going to go around the room here, guys, and just talk about superstitions we hold for better or for worse. Are there things that you think make you more lucky in a day? Maybe some lucky chonies, maybe some a lucky skip and a hop that you do, maybe a lucky dance. I don't know. Or is there something that you think if you do brings you bad luck? I know for myself, if I go around running or jogging, as I tend to do, I tried my best to avoid cracks in the sidewalk. As odd as that is, that's just one that I hold there. But we'll go around the room here. Hoffman, let's start with you. What's something that you hold maybe for better or worse on these unlucky or lucky superstitions?
I really am not even a little stitious, to be honest. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't really hold any. I might pointedly walk under ladders just to prove, just to be like,
just to laugh in the face of danger.
Just to prove that that's not real. It's no big deal. No, but there are a few weird things that I do though. There's
a lot of weird things that you do. Let's be clear.
That could be construed or misconstrued as superstitious things.
Okay.
And one of them is, there's that sports thing, right? Like you couldn't possibly watch a sports game of your favorite team without wearing the jersey. And it's not because I think they're going to lose if I don't wear it, or they're going to play better if I do wear it. It would be undignified as a fan to not show my support. Even if there's no one to see, I'm going to wear the jersey and I'm going to feel proud, So it's more like that.
You're going to wear the jersey, you're going to wear the pants, you're going to wear the flip-flops. Do you have like some ramily chonies that you wear with a ram in the front and to get charged?
There's like a lot of sports teams out there that I support. Anyway, my weird thing is that, like, for example, when my rugby team, the Sharks, who wear black and white, play their bitter rivals, the Blue Bulls, who wear, you guessed it, blue. And then I'll see my dad, and he's wearing a blue shirt on that. Like, it's just like a blue regular button-down shirt on that day. I'm like, how could you?
How could you do this
like
to me?
He's wearing a Blue Bulls jersey. Like, I'm wearing black or like my Sharks jersey or my Sharks like polo, and he comes down wearing a blue shirt. I'm like, You disgust me. But it's really not a superstitious thing. Here's the other weird thing. When I get on a plane, I always when I'm boarding the plane, I always have to touch the outside of the plane as I'm getting on. I just need to I don't know, I just
Is that a
touch.
thing?
It's something I've done since I was little. No, it's not a thing. It's just something I do. When I was little, I thought it was so cool to actually touch the outside of the plane, the part of the plane that's that touches the air, 40,000 feet in the sky. And I got to when I was walking on, I touched the outside. I thought it was so cool to touch the outside of a plane.
Well, as long as it's a touch and not just a tender kiss before you take off or something.
Well, what would be wrong with that, really? Good luck, plane.
I'm pulling for you, buddy.
No, I touch with my hand, as I'm boarding, I sort of rest my hand on the outside of the plane. Something I've done on every flight since I was 6 or 7 years old.
I love that. It's almost
And
spiritual.
I still do it every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Shannon, is there anything that you do to feel lucky or unlucky?
Yeah, I do a couple things. I'm not super superstitious, I guess. Like David said, I'm stitious.
Stop it, David. Yes.
It's just so funny.
So clever.
Mirrors freak me out.
Mirrors.
The thought of breaking a mirror would freak me out. I recently broke a mirror, my makeup mirror, and I've just been on edge about it. Also, if I spill salt, I do the throw over the shoulder thing.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it just
so
feels
messy.
it feels necessary.
Whenever
It
you
feels
do
like
that,
I have to do it.
Can you do it with the salt shaker, or is it do you have to
You
empty
pick
it?
up
I
some
never
of the ones
understood it.
you spilled.
Okay, got it.
Correct your wrong kind of thing. Also, black cats. I love black cats. If I was to get a cat, I would get a black cat. But if one crosses your path, I don't know if you guys do this. The three X's
it's going to happen
do.
all the time. If you have a black cat, it's going to walk in front of
Then
you all
I feel
the time.
I correct it by having the black cat.
So,
But the three X's in the air to cancel out if it walks in front of you.
So you draw out with
God.
your fingers 3 X's to cancel out the bad luck that is.
Any bad luck that it brought along with it. I don't think they're bad luck. It's just something my mom instilled on me as a kid kind of thing. I do have a lucky charm.
Do you?
I keep in my
Is
car.
it a rabbit's foot?
No, it's a little Lego Boba Fett that I found in school one day that I've just had since early high school.
That's pretty awesome.
I found him underneath the chorus risers as we were setting up the risers for the day. He was just sitting there. And so now he stays in my car and he's been in my car with me. Every time he's not in there, I feel like it's a bad day.
All right.
So I tend not to move him.
She's getting the good Boba Fett in there just to get the good vibes going. I have, I think I've mentioned this before. So every once in a while I play poker. I just dabble, really, David. And when I do, I have these card holders that I've mentioned before. You place them on your cards to show ownership of which card or which hand is yours. And I have a little bag of gadgets, trinkets, whatever have you. And if I'm not getting good cards for a couple minutes, I swap them out. So I will go from Mario with a fireball to a piece of a dice to, or I guess a die is what it would be called, to Yoshi, to having a little figurine of a pickle, to having just whatever it is.
You put your
dragon.
pickle on the table?
I do. Whenever I say all in, I mean it, David. So I will do anything and everything to make sure that I could manufacture my own luck, manufacture and get those good cards coming back to me, because realistically,
and does it work?
You know what? It makes me feel like whenever I get aces and I just change something. I mean, it doesn't happen right away. You got to let it mature. You got to let it sift. You got to let it
But
stew
sometimes
out
it
there.
happens right away.
Sometimes it does,
Right?
and then you feel like
you'd almost think it's totally random.
What is always hard for me though, David, is whenever you get a good hand, so you're like, oh, it worked, but then you lose all your money because of it. You know, you look down and you have jacks, and then you're all
And then
in.
someone
and all
else has got the aces.
aces. So you're like, was that a good thing or not? And you're just like, well, whatever.
Yeah,
So
wow.
that's something that I usually have that brings about good luck or bad luck. I already mentioned my bad luck one, so we're let's move on. Friday the 13th, of course, I think to a certain sect of the audience means one Jason Voorhees, as the film franchise is rather famous. I don't believe I haven't seen it. I know, David, you haven't seen it, even though we're both familiar canonically with what it means and its place.
For me, barely, honestly, barely. My whole knowledge of Jason is basically based around that video game we used to play. at your place.
Yes.
That's basically all I know about
So-
Jason and Freddy.
So the
And I know
holiday
Freddy's from a different franchise or something, but whatever.
Right. I know we already had our Mother's Day episode, and right now we're recording the day after Mother's Day. But did you know that Jason has a mother, David?
No.
She plays a prominent role within the franchise. Let's go to Shannon,
well,
who is actively dying
for
doing
Jason.
doing somersaults
She's
over
like-
here. She must have
she's
seen
like-
this movie already, yes?
Yeah,
Aghast.
you guys haven't seen this movie?
I've
It's
seen
like
clips.
a classic horror film.
You know what? I've seen clips and I've seen Freddy versus Jason, but I have not seen Friday the 13th,
That is a crime.
the original. Yeah. I've seen.
That is a crime.
I think I've even seen
To
the
watch
ending.
that before?
Yeah, I think I've even seen the ending of Friday the 13th, and I've seen maybe a death or two from it, but I have not seen the film in its
A death or
entirety.
two.
A death
I
or
watched,
two, you know.
I watched that as like a tween.
A tween.
It's like a
wow.
rite of passage to watch Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th when you're like 13.
Well,
I guess you
This
have some
Friday.
homework to do. I know you have some homework to do tonight, Hoffman.
I guess so.
Well,
So
now you gotta wait till
night.
Friday.
Yeah, I know. How can I? I've waited 20 whatever years. I can. I'm sure I can wait another 4 days.
I'm so disappointed
I
in
will
both
preface, well, no, I'm not really prefacing. I'm just going to tag this along. I don't watch a lot of scary movies. Like, I just don't. And so, a movie from the 80s certainly was never going to be high on the list. There was a phase when I was like 12 where I did see several scary movies. It was something that we used to do in groups, But
Yeah, I had a
it's
phase
never
like that
something that
too.
I stuck with. I always preferred comedies, and like if on a friend's movie night, it was a choice between American Pie 2 and I don't know,
Gremlins.
Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm gonna pick
Nightmare
American
on
Pie
Elm
2.
Street is so good.
Nightmare on
seen
Elm
it.
Street is actually legitimately good. That actually is when you mentioned earlier that you went through a phase of binging all whatever it was. I actually have seen all of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. That's the one that I've been fully invested in and enjoy because it actually is a little scary. Like that one actually does kind of terrify me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What we want to talk about here, the biggest slasher, like the character, the slasher itself, who we would be afraid to be in a movie with, to be in a scenario with, who terrifies us most, just as themselves. Maybe not the films that they incorporate or are a part of, but who terrifies us the most. I will go first with an unconventional slasher, but I think it still stands. I'm going to go with Predator.
Oh, you bitch.
Is that where you might have gone or they were thinking of possibly?
Well, now that I love the Predator franchise, but I never thought of that as a slasher. Those are slasher films. Like they're very much
Yeah, he has that like claw
very
thing
much
that like
action sci-fi.
Well, but here's the thing:
But
is
there are
I don't think it's
elements.
slasher.
There are. It's not. But there are elements of
Thriller.
Well, yeah,
first-
I guess. I mean, there's some horror in there for sure. There's a lot of jump scares. And
my first
there's,
introduction to Predator
gruesome
as
deaths.
a character was during Alien versus Predator, which I think is probably more horror than thriller.
Do you do everything out of order?
Well, not normally, but when I was young, my grandma was the only person who would take me to horror films. And so, of course, that was the only one that came out in theaters, and I went to go see that.
I mean, Alien is a horror film.
Yes, so that's
Love Alien.
So that's
Alien's
why
that's a great movie.
So that's why my first introduction to the character was within a horror setting because it was Alien versus Predator. It had to be a horror film. So that's why I would qualify it like that. If I'm being restricted to what it could possibly be, probably Leatherface, because I'm afraid of being eaten.
That's fair.
That is unnerving.
Okay.
Shannon, let's go to you next. Where or whom, should I say, would be the biggest slasher that you're afraid of?
This is hard for me. I love horror movies. I've watched all of them. I watch them by myself just for fun all the time. It's like my background movies that I prefer.
Is it the worse the film is as a film that it's better for you when it comes to the horror genre, or does it still need to be like a good horror film?
It depends on the mood. You got to appreciate the like bad horror movies, for what they are. The more like deeper ones, those are the ones that actually affect me, like Midsummer or like Hereditary. Those really got to me.
Get Out. Oh,
I loved Get Out.
Get Out.
And I loved Us. Or like the family one.
I
yeah,
didn't
Us.
like Us so much.
I loved
Get
Us.
Out
I thought it was great.
but
Get Out was phenomenal.
I thought about it being Jason or Jason's mom. Since you guys don't know the movie, I guess you
I
don't
knew
understand
Jason had
that.
a mom. I'm at least going to go that far.
That is, his mom is way more important.
Yes, I
You should
know.
just know that.
I know.
And then I thought about Michael Myers from Halloween because, like, when it's Friday the 13th,
You mean the
they're
guy
far away at a
from
camp,
Shrek
you know?
and Austin Powers?
Yeah, that one. Exactly. When they're away at a camp, you're in an unfamiliar location. And Halloween, you're like in your neighbor's home somewhere you've been. So there's two different vibes to it. But I think Nightmare on Elm Street is the one I wouldn't want because I already suck at sleeping. So I don't need to think about something attacking me in my sleep, in my dream somewhere that it's supposed to be safe.
What a
So
horrible
I
concept
think
somebody
Freddy.
came up with. But yeah, Freddy, like you're freaking sleeping. We all do it. Like nobody can avoid, like people can avoid going to the woods. I'm never gonna be in the woods if I can help it. You know, if you're like, if you start to hear sounds in a house, maybe you can be like, you know what, now walk in through this door. We all sleep. You can't avoid sleep. God, what a terrifying concept. Amen. Amen. David, where are you going?
I looked up slasher movies to just try to find ones that I've
That
seen.
you have seen, yes.
Right. And I think a lot of the audience are going to go, "What? That's not a slasher movie." But you know what? It came up, so screw you. The one that freaked me out the most when I watched it for the first time and, got all the surprise was When a Stranger Calls. Now, this is not to me, I didn't think of this as a slasher film.
Is that
Right.
the one where they get jiggy with it and then you pass it on like an
No,
STD?
it's like a
That's It
babysitter or
Follows.
something, and then she keeps getting like calls from like this guy who's like been all creepy, and then she calls the police, and they are like, "Oh, we're gonna trace the call," and then they trace the call. Spoiler alert!
It's
They trace
in
the
the
call,
house.
and the call is coming from inside the house, and I was like, "Oh no!" It's not a slasher film, really. Like I don't know. So again, another one that I have seen that has a antagonist who's more supernatural than he is a slasher serial killer. It's Silent Hill, and it's the devil character with the giant sword.
It's fair.
That guy kind of creeps me out. But I mean, I'm not that freaked out by horror movies. They don't do much for me. So
the reason why, because they don't do much for you, that's why you feel it's something akin to a waste of time for you?
I guess. I mean, it's all kind of just like trying to make you freaked out, and I usually end up like it usually makes me giggle when the jump scares happen. It makes me giggle, and I'm like, yeah.
It's always the stupid jump scares that get me. Like in Alien versus Predator, when that freaking penguin comes out, that got me, and then the rest of the film didn't.
I've not seen those films, so I couldn't tell
there you go. When that penguin comes out and you do eventually watch that because I'll make you, then you'll be terrified, but the rest of it doesn't. All right, let's move to our last interpretation of Friday the 13th. Let's go to personal stories. We have being unlucky or lucky, both, same time, whatever it could be. Shannon, why don't you start us out here?
Yeah, so I feel like I am a lucky person at the same time as being unlucky. And I'll explain with this story that I'm very accident prone and that I feel like that's unlucky, but it's always these things where it could have been so much worse.
Like clumsy?
Yeah, I'm so clumsy. I hurt myself all the time on accident. But when I was like 7, it was snowing and I just like was walking around my deck and I looked up and an icicle pierced my lip. It fell and like went through the top of my lip right here.
Damn.
It could have been so much worse. It could have went through my head or something. I had to get a stitch on my lip because it like busted open my lip.
Jeez.
So it's like unlucky because what are the chances of just walking in a icicle falls? And I happened to look up enough that it didn't like slice through my face or something.
Yeah.
But lucky enough that that didn't happen. But unlucky. So it's weird. I border. I feel like.
David, what's your story of being lucky, unlucky?
Lucky. Let's start with unlucky. I'm gonna take you back 2 years ago. It was January 2020. I just signed an agent. Like I signed with an agent in LA, and I was like, "F yeah!" February comes, and I become. Well, actually, no, it was early February. I signed with an agent. Later in February, I become SAG eligible, and if you know what that means, great. If you don't, it's not that interesting. Don't worry about it. But it's a good thing. I became SAG eligible, and then I did this audition. So I did this commercial audition, just a self-tape, and they asked me to tape in English and in Spanish. And like, now my Spanish is great, but not fluent by any means. And so it was like a unique opportunity to get to audition in Spanish as well as English. And so I was really excited about it. I filmed the self-tape in both English and Spanish, sent it in, booked it. They wanted to. It was a local Toyota commercial. I think it was for a local Toyota dealership. So it wasn't huge, but it was going to pay me probably a few grand at least for one day's work, and so that all happened in a span of like 3 weeks or so. And then this thing happened in early March 2020. I don't know if you guys know about it. Literally the night before that commercial shoot was supposed to happen, they sent me an email saying the shoot was canceled because of lockdowns. I never got any work through my agent because of lockdowns and the rest of the pandemic. And I left the country too soon to join without doing any more work in the industry. And so I never ended up joining SAG. I still could in the future, obviously, because the eligibility is for life. But yeah, that was about the pandemic hit right at when everything started to go well. And then, yeah. But let's not linger on that because that's
rough.
Right.
Oh my God. Just all right. So time I got super lucky. So I had booked a flight. I was visiting my cousin in Orlando, and I had booked my return flight to LA via New York. And I did this very deliberately because I could have flown direct for a little bit more money. And there were other options via Atlanta, via Detroit, whatever. But I booked this one via New York because I'd never been to New York. And I chose the layover, I chose this flight because the layover was an hour and 15 minutes or something. So I was like, well, maybe there's a delay. So I messaged a friend of mine saying like, look, I'm flying through New York, probably going to be, no problems. But if my first flight is delayed, I might be stranded in New York. Can I stay with you? And she said, yeah, totally. No worries. And I got so lucky. The first flight was delayed by like 45 minutes to an hour. And I landed in New York with like 10 minutes to get to my next flight. And it was on the other side of whatever. I was just like so glad that I'd missed my connecting flight because it wasn't my fault. It was their fault. And so I got a free day. And they were like ready to book me on the first flight in the morning. I was like, you know what? Can you fly me in the afternoon, please? And so they booked me on a new flight. I said, you don't have to pay for accommodation because I had a friend who was going to house me. They gave me a $200 voucher as compensation. And I got a free day in New York without having to pay for any accommodation. They even paid for my taxi to Manhattan. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, and that was my first time in New York, and I got it all. Like I basically did the whole thing. I tried New York pizza, super disappointing, and got to see the High Line, and I went down to see Wall Street and the Bull and all. I tried to do as much as I could in this like 8-hour day that I had. It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, I any luck that takes you to New York is actually quite a romantic idea of just being like, well, how else can I feel? I got an overnight to stay, and you got it all paid for. That's like the
they gave me $200 voucher for another trip someday, and I was like,
you definitely used.
Pretty cool. Of course, I used it. I'm pretty sure I used it for my next trip to New York.
There you go. All right, personal stories of being lucky, unlucky. So it's always hard because I feel like at some point you have some blame to do with it all. So let's go with my lucky one first. If I'm being honest, it's probably every single time that I got my wallet back. I swear to God, I lose my wallet so many times, especially when I was younger. I would just lose it everywhere, and then it'd find its way back to me at some later date and time. And it's always annoying to lose your wallet. But I'm probably telling a better story. When I was younger, my family would always be going down to Mexico for vacation / missionary work. And so we'd go down there, we'd drive, it'd be fun, it'd be a fun little weekend. I'd go and get a Batman kite on the beach, and there'd be all that giggles, right? So then we come back, and on our way back, I remember this one trip where we were coming back, and it was just me and my mom. And we were, it was the middle of like summer, so it's very hot. And for whatever reason, my mom decided I don't think she gassed up the car correctly. I remember that there was something to where she had regretted not gassing up the car when she could have, whether that was right before we got to the border or when we started our journey, whatever it was. And she was so afraid because there was a much longer line getting across the border, literally at the border, because they were inspecting everybody, that we could not overpass that we would be out of gas in the middle of the line on the on the other side of the border of Mexico trying to get back in, and that it would be a whole thing. Don't know if we'd be able to get pushed across, whatever. She was so worried. We were turning off our car. We were turning it back on each and every time, like enough distance had come that it would justify doing the gas. I remember being in the middle of this car, sweating my pores out because it's in the middle of Mexico, so freaking hot across the Arizona border. And it was just, I remember this as it was like a tragic event in my life. And then finally, it was like so lucky we got there on E, like having been on E the entire time. We got to the back of the line, and like right on the other side of the border is like a gas station. It was like one of the luckiest moments of our life. We went over there, got like a big slurp, whatever the freaking the Spanish version of a slurp would be. Got one of those and just freaking rehydrated, got full on gas. It was just one of the luckiest times of our lives, and I vividly remember that.
Never thought you'd be telling a story about how you crossed the Mexican border on E.
On E, yes, absolutely. It wouldn't be the first time, but I digress. Anyways, if I'm going to my unlucky time, this one's probably an example of karma, if nothing else, but it's also unlucky. So I remember when I was in high school, and we went on one of our senior trips. We had a couple, weirdly enough, and we went to Catalina Island. And we had the whole day. We kind of went off in groups of 3, 4, whatever it could possibly be. And we went around exploring the island. And then by a certain time, you had to be back by the dock, right? Well, our boat was late coming back to the dock. So we were all just standing around as an entire class of seniors here on the dock. And we're just waiting, talking, chatting. All of a sudden, I noticed my friend, my best friend at the time, had something on his hat. And I was like, what's that white stuff on your hat? And I just start laughing once it connects, right? Because I mean, it's a pier, it's a dock, it's a seagull. I just on him, on his head. I was like checking his cheek. I was like laughing my off, dude. You just got on. And all of a sudden, as I'm like inspecting everything, I'm like looking behind him. He like looks at the back of my head. He's like, "Wait, what's that on the back of your head?" A bird had then on the back of my head, and I didn't have a hat or anything else, and it had so much. And again, I'm sorry that I'm making work for myself having to say this, but it was so frustrating that I have to say the word because he on me and on the back of my backpack. It was a spray. It had doused me in bird all the way from the back of my head to like this to my backpack. So not only could I just like wash it off because my head is one thing, and it had been so long since I noticed that it had been ingrained into the backpack. I like could never wear that backpack again. I was so mad. Again, karma, unlucky, take of it what you will. But I remember I had to then go across in this boat, then had to get back to the hotel. All this time was just gingerly holding my backpack, no longer how I wanted to or intended to. It was gross. It was disgusting. So
That's disgusting.
yeah, that was the worst. This episode of POWWOW Podcast is sponsored by Sides.
Meet Sides, SIDES, an app that helps you take the law into your own hands.
Turn ordinary agreements into binding contracts in seconds. Then if a dispute arises, Sides will step in to resolve it for you.
Wait, Phil, that was supposed to be my line.
What did we agree to in the contract?
I don't know. I guess we can use Sides to settle this dispute, because each dispute costs a small one-time fee.
And if you win, which I will, it's all awarded back to you.
Sign up now and get 16% off for a limited time only. That is rather amusing. That today the mini segment is Bite Me, and a certain favorite Bite Me. We have strongly worded, perhaps, opinions about certain things, and if you
are gonna
disagree,
hate mine today.
oh, I'm sure I am. For that, I will go first. I don't care if your socks are not the same color. But if they're not the same style, the same fit, the same type of sock,
Ooh.
you are a special kind of psychopath if that's not uncomfortable for you. It horrifies me, and it makes me trust you less. Like, really, like, how could you wear socks that are like a different brand that like fit you differently?
Like an ankle sock to like a shin
or like
sock.
just like Puma socks that are like hugging your foot, and like a regular just sort of ankle sock that's like different material even. There are people who just wear like two random socks. It's horrifying. Bite me.
Mine, which I know you're gonna hate. I've already said it, and I'm just preparing myself for it. Peanut butter is unnecessary in a PB&J. Look, I like peanut butter as a sandwich by itself. I like it with bananas. I like it in a cookie. But there is no reason to force the combo of peanut butter and jelly as if it were two people on a TV show that a toxic section of the audience just want to get together for no good reason. Leave the peanut butter out of my PB&J. Just give me the jelly. Just give me the peanut butter. They're fine separate. They don't need to be together. And if you don't like that, bite me.
Shannon is, of course, joining us for the game as well. And Shannon, we've gotten to know you pretty well over the past however many visits you've done with us. 2, 3, whatever it is. 3. And but that doesn't you haven't gotten out of it. We are still going to ask you a few questions. Since you're Phil's guest, he will only get one, but I've got 2 questions for you. We're going to start out easy. Has there ever been a scary movie that has been too much for you?
No. I love scary movies. I guess the closest that came to it was Midsommar.
What about those really gory, disgusting ones like
Doesn't bother me.
Texas Chainsaw
Like
Massacre?
I said, Midsommar is the closest it's gotten, and that's pretty.
Midsommar was the closest it's gotten?
Yeah, that's pretty gory.
I haven't seen it, but I did actually want to see that one because apparently
it's
it was
beautiful.
very good.
It's
beautifully
very
shot.
beautifully shot.
Film,
beautiful.
I'm sure, yes. Fair enough.
Shannon, what is the item or thing that you have with you right now, like either in your house or on your person, something like that, that has been with you the longest? Do you have like a totem? I mean, obviously you said your Boba Fett thing has been there with you since high school, but do you have maybe like a blanket, maybe like a hair clip, maybe something that you know that you've had with you for the longest time?
I have a necklace that when I was born, my parents had like a foreign exchange student from Germany visiting like a couple months after I was born, and she gifted me a necklace.
Wow.
I don't have the chain anymore. It was a teeny chain because it was for a baby.
Right.
I do have the pendant. And so that has been with me for my full like 25 years, basically.
What's the pendant of, or what does it look like?
It's just a pretty like design.
Okay. Nice.
All right, my last question. Where would you least like to get frisky? In a dark forest, said to be haunted on Friday the 13th, in an abandoned mental asylum, or in a clown museum?
Oh, clown museum. That's so freaky.
That's the worst?
Yeah, no, like all of those, like I'm sure
you don't want to get freaky next to Bubbles?
I'm sure there's so many clown eyes looking at you. There's probably little like horns going off in the distance,
Look,
you know.
the
Nothing's gonna
stigma
kill the
around
mood like a little
clowns
honka honka.
has to end. Anyway.
And the
museum.
clown hate.
Yeah, come on.
It's just I don't think the mood would be good. Not in there.
The rest you
Now
can
there you may have a point for sure.
So what Shannon's saying, in the other places you can at least get to a point, but the clown museum, there's no romance ever happening.
It's not happening. Nope.
Yeah, you're never like, oh.
Like there's something about the woods in some place where you shouldn't be that's kind of sexy, but like a clown museum.
What about an
like,
abandoned mental asylum? Oh my god.
Some place where you're not supposed to be. Something
Hey, I don't know about you, but
okay.
the way that Giggles is looking at me, you want to go.
Dude, it's abandoned, okay?
All right. We have a game here. David has craftfully come up for us. Let's go. What is it?
Okay, so the game is essentially there will be 2 questions or a question with 2 possible answers or 2 statements that are either true or false. Just as an example, I could tell you grass is green and grass grows from the dirt. It'll be up to you guys to choose which one of those is true. You can pick one or the other, or you can say, I'm feeling lucky, and say either both or neither. Does that make sense? If you choose one of the options and you get it right, you'll get 1 point. If you choose, I'm feeling lucky, and both of them were correct, then you would get 2 points. But if only one of them was correct, you would get 0 points for that.
Makes sense.
I hope it makes sense, but
yes.
it should make sense as we go. Shannon, do you have a preference on who goes first here?
No, actually, not this time. You guys pick.
No?
Hoffman, why don't you go first since you explained your version of the game, and then I'll explain mine later.
So mine is all about movies, And so I'm going to name a movie, and
I hope you know Shannon is something of a cinephile here, David. So
well, that makes me very happy. So you should be worried, not me.
I should be, yes.
All right, so I'm going to name a movie and 2 possible actors, stars of that movie. And you guys will just pick which one, or you can say, I'm feeling lucky and go with either both or neither, and you might get double points.
Can I just say, since we're doing films, Shannon, if you want to say that I'm feeling lucky, you have to say it like Clint Eastwood. I'm feeling lucky.
All right, noted. Really noted.
So, Phil, you have a skipping stone, so I prepared an extra one. I actually prepared an extra one as well, just in case there's a movie that neither of you have seen, or something like that, maybe. But I got carried away. First question. Freaky Friday 2003.
Oh, thank God.
Stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Frankie Muniz. All right, we will go to Shannon first.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, okay. Phil?
It's Jamie Lee Curtis. Frankie Muniz was probably in Big Fat Liar around that time.
That's correct. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, plays one of the lead roles in that movie.
God bless her.
Frankie Muniz is not in that movie.
Not at all.
But just to remind you guys, you could have said I'm feeling lucky and gone with both, and it might have been both, right?
Right.
Okay, so a point each.
What?
Question 2. Friday the 13th, 1980. Stars Christopher Lee, Kevin Bacon. Phil, we're going to you first this time, and you can skip if you want to.
Christopher Lee. Can I ask who Christopher Lee is, or no? I guess I can't.
Christopher Lee is, well, I can tell you who he is. You're not allowed to look him up, though.
Oh, yeah,
Christopher Lee is Count Dooku. He played Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
He played Saruman.
He has like the most acting credits ever.
Yeah, it's insane.
Fun fact. Man, I know Kevin Bacon was in something, and I don't think he was in. I know he wasn't in Nightmare, so I bet he is in the first Friday the 13th. But since I know Shannon knows this and I don't, I'm going to skip this. I will officially use my skipping stone on this.
Okay, what would you have said?
I would have said Kevin Bacon. I would not have said Christopher Reeves.
Christopher Lee. Christopher Reeves was Superman.
Hey, he wasn't in it either, David.
Well, it's true, but Shannon, what would you have said?
Neither. I'm really blanking on if Kevin was in it. I don't think Christopher Lee was in it.
So you would have said, I'm feeling lucky, and gone with neither.
Yes.
All right. And Phil, you said
Kevin Bacon is just him.
Well, Phil, you would have been right. And Christopher Lee was not in the film, although he is a very, very well-renowned horror actor, most famously Dracula, I believe.
Dracula. Dracula.
So the next question, 13 going on 30, 2004. Stars Gabriel Iglesias, Andy Serkis.
It's still on me.
And we're going to, you first, Phil.
I'm feeling lucky. Neither.
Okay.
I'm worried about one.
Shannon.
I'm feeling lucky as well with neither. I feel like they're background characters and it's going to throw me off.
You both said you're feeling lucky, and you're both most unlucky. Andy Serkis is in the film.
What?
Gabriel Iglesias is not. Jim Gaffigan, though, is. That's a fun fact. Yeah, so there you go. You're both wrong. You both still have 1 point. Moving on to our third official question.
Okay.
Ocean's 13, 2007, stars.
I have seen it.
I haven't.
Don Cheadle.
Yes!
Don Cheadle, Casey Affleck. Shannon, we're going to you first.
I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm feeling lucky with neither again. I've never seen this movie.
Phil.
I'm feeling lucky as well. Both.
Phil, you are correct.
Yeah!
Both is correct, yes. Both of those actors are in this film. Phil, you now take a big lead. It is 3-1. We have 2 questions left. Shannon, you still have a good chance. Question 4, official 4, Friday Night Lights, 2004.
Oh, jeez.
Have you both seen this, or have neither of you seen this?
I've seen it. It was so long ago, but I
haven't seen it since I was like a kid.
Yeah, I have seen it. So we both have seen it.
Okay. All right. Well, stars Amber Heard.
Oh, wow.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Wow. Wow. That is about the time that she would have been prominent. I'm guessing I'm going first since I'm in the lead, David?
Yes, yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit complicated, but yes.
Yeah, because of possible points here. I will go yes to Billy Bob Thornton, BBT.
Okay.
I'm going to go with neither again. I might as well just keep it going with that.
So
Eventually
you're
I'll be
feeling
right.
lucky.
She's feeling lucky. Neither.
And the correct answer is actually both. So Phil, you will get a point for Billy Bob Thornton, which means it's now 4-1. Moving on to our final question. I do have an extra one. We'll play for fun, maybe.
Yes.
Apollo 13, 1995, stars Kevin Costner, Michael Douglas. Phil, we're going to you first.
Going to me first. I'm feeling lucky. Neither.
Shannon?
I'm going to say Michael Douglas. I haven't seen this one in so long either.
Phil storms ahead.
Woo,
Oh,
baby.
That is
God.
correct. Neither.
Now, if you'd have brought
Neither
Kevin
of these
Bacon
actors are
back
in
for
that
this
film.
one.
Yeah. There was a Kevin, but it wasn't Kevin Costner.
Yes. And no Kevin Spacey either.
Okay, well, that's it. That's a score of what? 6 to 1.
6 to 1.
Impressive work, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And just for respect, 13 Hours. This is about the heroes at Benghazi. Came out in 2016.
Oh.
Stars John Krasinski, David Denman.
I did not see this.
I did not see that one.
Well, good thing it was the last one, I guess.
Yeah. I did not see this, but I think it's John Krasinski.
I was going to say, I would go John Krasinski.
Both would have gotten a point, but the truth
It's
is
both?
that you should have felt lucky it's both.
Oh, okay.
David Denman it plays Roy in The Office. So they're both Office actors.
All
All right, well, there you go. And it's a resounding victory for you, Phil.
Yeah, baby. All right. Let's go to my version of this game. I have a slightly different interpretation, but it's the same idea. So I really went on the Friday the 13th theme, and thus all of my questions and scenarios have to do with on-screen deaths or vanishing. You'll see how it goes here. So let's go with the first one. In the movie Friday the 13th, did the following people die in the film on screen or not? So they must have died on screen in order to have a yes, a no, feeling lucky yes, feeling lucky no. Here we go. The characters are Annie Phillips and Marcy Standler.
How am I supposed to know any of this?
Well, you don't know this one.
That's a hard interpretation.
To be fair, these are I would qualify them as secondary characters from what I could see, David. So they will be hard even for the person who has seen them. All these will be difficult.
Great.
And I have ones geared towards Shannon, and I have ones geared towards you.
Okay.
So Shannon, we will start with you as we did in our game. Annie Phillips and Marcy Standler.
I'm going to go with they didn't die on screen.
So you're feeling lucky neither?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. David.
I'm going to say Annie Phillips died on screen.
Annie Phillips. You sniffed it, and you did get a point, but 2 points were available there. Both did indeed die on screen. Annie Phillips was knifed to death, and Marcy had an axe to the face. So very unfortunate.
Yep.
Very unfortunate. Worst
That
possible
is
way to go.
unfortunate. I would classify
That's
that
not a
as
good day,
unfortunate.
David.
That's not that is a very classically bad Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah, really ruined my day.
Yeah, don't think she's going to enjoy the next one. Leading up point 1-0 is David, and we'll go to him first on this next one. In Avengers Infinity Wars, spoiler alert, the blip / the snap occurs, an event where half the galaxy gets wiped out due to Thanos' victory over the Avengers, and in doing so, half of Marvel's roster disappears. Which of these characters gets snapped away? Again, keep in mind, guys, this was for Infinity Wars. We've got David Vision and Bucky Barnes / the Winter Soldier.
Which of them was snapped away, or
Yeah, which of them got snapped away or / the blip?
I'm feeling lucky.
Okay.
Both.
He's feeling lucky, and he says both. We go to Shannon,
Just Bucky.
and Shannon gets the point that is available. Vision, if you remember,
Oh
was
yeah,
killed
sorry,
by
Vision.
Oh my god, I'm
/
such an
Wanda.
idiot. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking they both died in that movie.
Wanda
I was
got blipped.
How does that
I was
Chargers San Francisco 49ers question there, Phil, David? How does that
Shut
feel?
up.
Are we getting a little frisky? Oh, okay, Shannon, you don't know this, but he made a clever little game last week, and it was just the most,
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, excuse me. It was just, I don't forget. I don't forget. All right, next one. Shannon, we'll go to you first after having tied it up as you did. Shannon is currently watching Game of Thrones, so we're going to play a dangerous game within a game. I asked Shannon earlier what episode she is on within the series, and she said
That's
season
why you
4,
asked.
episode 9. So this on-screen
good
death
episode.
Yes. So this on-screen death will pertain to characters up to, but not surpassing, the very memorable episode, The Viper and the Mountain, which is episode 8
Very
of season
memorable.
4. Yes, as well. So David, having seen it all,
Traumatizing.
you may have the more complicated task of remembering whether a character is alive or not to this point, while Shannon, I know, is bad at remembering names. So should be equally hard.
I'm binging. I started like 2 weeks ago.
All right, here we go.
Well, then it should all be fresh then.
Should all be fresh. First character, Maester Aemon. And character number 2, Lord Janos Slint. So here we go. Shannon.
Oh my gosh.
Either of them dead, both of them dead, both of them alive.
I'm gonna go with both.
Do you even remember who these people are?
No, I don't. I suck at names. I'm gonna go with both are dead, though.
Both are dead.
Lucky.
She's feeling lucky. Both are dead. David, do you remember who these people are? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like I am very much an expert on like the history and lore of Game of Thrones.
Okay, so he knows, but now the
I'm
second
a
task
total
of
nerd
at this point.
Now, so Janos Slint is definitely alive at this point because it's after that point that Jon Snow. This is spoiler alert.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil.
Okay.
So he's definitely alive, David says.
So I'm not going to explain anything then. All right. Maester
Which is
Aemon.
fine. Maester Aemon.
Who even is that?
I'm going to say they're both alive.
So you're going to go, you're
feeling lucky. They're both alive.
And with the double duty points, he does get them both. Maester Aemon, Shannon, is the blind guy who's always looking.
Don't tell her.
No, they're both
Now
alive.
she's going to know who's going to die.
No, they're both alive to this point to where she is. That doesn't mean that they both die. That doesn't mean that they both are alive at later dates.
I hope he doesn't die. I like him.
There you go. All right.
Oh no.
He's a really old man.
I know.
He dies of excessive
I'm
diarrhea.
very upset today.
There we go. So charging ahead at 3 points to 1. David takes the lead. We go to number 4, and David, you'll take this first since we go. So you'll go back to back leading here. David has told me / us at this point that Silent Hill would house the slasher that he feared the most. Let's look at those cast of characters and see if we can find out who lived and who died.
Oh, no.
You think I remember? I've seen this movie once, like a million years ago.
Let's reach back into those memory banks.
Great.
Let's first character. Sybil Bennett. Sybil Bennett.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Sybil,
yes. Keeping it Sybil. And cast member number 2, Officer Thomas Gucci. Or as Jared Leto would say, Gucci. David, we'll go to you first. Which of these are dead, if either?
Sybil's definitely dead.
Okay. What about Officer Thomas Gucci?
I'm saying Sybil's dead.
Oh, just the one.
I've
Okay,
got no
got
idea
it.
who either of these people are. So
okay, so Sybil is dead.
I'm gonna go with both.
Shannon
I'm
is feeling
lucky
lucky
with both.
And she falls yet another point behind as David takes that point. Exactly. Sybil Bennett died burned at the stake by Christabella. So there we go.
Yes, right.
At this point, Shannon, you cannot win, but we will play our last one for points and prosperity. With the new Jurassic World coming out to possibly, potentially, probably not, and the age of the cinematic dinosaurs, I thought for our final exercise we could go back to the second film of the franchise, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, and see how well you both remember that one, as there are a lot of deaths in that one.
Mm-hmm.
First one, Dr. Robert Burke. Dr. Robert Burke. Second character would be Eddie Carr. Eddie Carr. David, we'll go to you first.
Goodness gracious. If I could only see their faces,
I
might know who these people are. Oh, no. Okay, who dies? I think Eddie dies. I'm just imagining, and I have no idea if this is true. I'm imagining Eddie is the guy who gets torn apart by the two T-Rexes.
Mm.
But I don't know if that's the case. Could be any other character. I just wouldn't remember.
So you're just sticking with Eddie.
Eddie,
right.
yeah.
And Shannon?
No, I'm feeling lucky and I'll go with both. There's so much death in that movie.
There is so much death and there is so much right in Shannon's answer. She is correct. Both died. Dr. Robert Burke was the guy who was eaten by the Tyrannosaurus doe while distracted by a snake slithering into his shirt under the waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
And then Eddie Carr was the guy who was eaten out of his car. Yes, was died by the two T-Rexes snapping him in half.
Yes, I was right.
Excellent, excellent memory. Excellent memory there,
so
David.
I do get 1 point there, right?
You do get 1 point. Shannon gets 2 to end the game at a 3-5 victory in favor of David. Congratulations.
Very
I
nice.
hate you. Would you guys like to play the tiebreaker just for fun?
Just for fun.
Sure.
Yes,
Just for
why
fun.
not?
We'll go to Shannon first, as she would have had to have created the tiebreaker. How many people died/snapped in this quiz, not including vision? Shannon, we'll go with you first.
What?
How many people died/snapped in this quiz, not including vision?
Mm.
Oh no. 6.
6, she says. David, the
I would
pain
say
and
7.
distortion on his face is
No,
just
Price is Right
clear.
me.
Yeah, yes. It was actually right on the nose. 6 by Shannon. Way to go,
What?
Shannon. Yeah, it was actually 6. We have who do we have? We have Annie Phillips, Macy Standler, Winter Soldier, Sybil Bennett, and of course the good Dr. Robert Burke and Eddie Carr, making a total of 6. Well, all in all, thank you, Shannon. You have come on and you gave us both a victory, but you gave it your best shot. We thank you for your time and ability to come on the show. Anything you want to plug while you're on here, and a happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Sure. Follow me on
happy
TikTok,
birthday.
Shanner1. Also, Philip Amrine has a TikTok. Go follow him.
You have TikTok now?
He made it for my birthday after bugging him for like a year about it.
That's why I have it, and that's why I said happy belated birthday.
And
one in the two.
How is it?
It's an existence, Hoffman. I will say, the one thing I found about it is that it is actually a nice resource in certain elements. I just found a video that actually was very informative about suits and how you can have a suit combination that 5 items make into 75 different suit combinations. So, for nothing else, it's informative. But thank you, Shannon. Appreciate your time, and we'll definitely see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Shannon.
And with both of our victories over Shannon, I now take my record up to a sterling 7-6, while David inches closer to mediocrity of 6-7.
Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ah. Ooh, ah.
Hey-ya! That slaps. It's, of course, the part of the show where we bring you the best, the newest, and the funkiest things we've seen this week. That's new, that's funky, fresh. David, what
Well,
do
it
you
doesn't
bring?
have to be new or funky fresh. It could be old and just groovy.
Absolutely, baby.
And mine is fairly old. I how old? I couldn't tell you. Let me check. It is a film. It is called How Do You Know?
How do you know?
It is a rom-com starring Reese Witherspoon and Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, one of my favorite actors.
Absolutely.
And, it was just on Netflix. And so we're watching it, and it was a fun rom-com. Like, just a good rom-com. There's so many crap, like hastily made, turned out, cookie cutter, Christmassy rom-coms that are just all the same. And it's like so stale. And this one was a good quality rom-com. As a rom-com goes, it slaps.
I wish I had found this song last week, and you'll find out why here soon, David. The song is called "Move" by the Mamas.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's a very good song, and I happened to find it walking around this week. And I did the old Soundhound thing. Where I just stood up in the middle of a restaurant on top of a chair, putting my phone towards the speaker like a crazy person, and I made sure to find it and add it because I am a song hunter. Moved by the Mamas. It slaps. Before we get out of here, we just have a couple thank yous to give out and dish out before moving along here, David.
Yeah, thank you to Cass and Crossland and Jake Corlang for the music that you hear on the show. We love you guys.
Thank you to Tara Amstutz and Josh Hans for their wonderful contribution to the show. Would not be possible without you guys. And thank you to you, the listener. We always appreciate your listenership, your subscribership, your everything ship, because we ship you. We love you. Thank you so much for listening each and every week. Of course, if you haven't already listened to the entire catalog that we have back there behind us in the dust, make sure you go back and pick us up and listen. It's all pretty much timeless stuff that does age rather well. And of course, it's all entertaining. But regardless, no matter what, thank you for listening. Except...
It's totally okay, man. You don't have to say it every time.
I want to say it. Screw you, Pandora.
A rabbit's foot for good luck, and for bad luck, this big, giant bear's foot.